Utah guard or former Utah guard Donovan Mitchell has been traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. That is essentially all I know. This story just broke not even really 20 minutes ago. I was looking at my phone. Well, actually, correct that. You, my friend, called me as I was sitting on my couch, and you're like, dude, I'm walking over right now. I'm like, what? And it's like, I look at your phone, and I saw just Twitter galore. It finally happened. Funny enough, I was actually listening to a podcast yesterday about Donovan Mitchell specifically, and of course, the day after, he is now traded
Our local
to
Knicks
the Cleveland
fans
Cavaliers.
are
Parker,
so sad.
what I honestly don't even know the full trade details. Could you just kind of update people as well as me what the official trade is standing right now? Maybe there's an update later, but what is the latest information that we know about this Donovan Mitchell trade?
Crazy stat just dropped too that we're going to bring up later. But okay, so the full trade, this is per Woj, and then JPA basketball added to it.
Yep.
Utah is giving up Donovan Mitchell. That is all they are giving up. From Cleveland, they get Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji. I'm sorry, I get bad with that name. Colin Sexton, 3 unprotected first-round picks, and 2 pick swaps, which is absolutely huge.
That is massive load off.
It's much more fair than the Gobert trade, if we're being honest. But this is huge. And in terms of additional details, Ochai Agbaji is a rookie, right?
Yeah, and I'm actually, by the way,
Colin Sexton is part of a sign and trade that is a 4-year, $72 million contract for him. So good for him.
So let me just recap very quickly after what you just said.
I will fact check you. Yes.
The Cavaliers are sending to Utah Lauri Markkanen.
Yes.
He was a starter last year. Mm-hmm. He's a good player.
Very good.
Ochai Agbaji, first-round pick this year.
We both really liked.
And fellow Kansas Jayhawk, like one of my favorite players in college basketball ever. Colin Sexton, who they're going to give a contract to essentially immediately once he already signed, and then 3 unprotected first-round picks and 2 pick swaps.
Thank you, Shams, for the details on Colin Sexton.
Okay, so that's what we have right here. That's the full trade,
and it's fully guaranteed.
Okay,
$72 million fully guaranteed.
That is one. First off, what a trade! That could easily be one of the biggest trades.
You want a crazy stat real quick?
Sure, throw it at me.
Cleveland is sending 3 unprotected picks in 2025, 2027, and 2029, and pick swaps in 26 and 28. So combined with the Rudy Gobert trade, Utah now has 13 unprotected or lightly protected picks through 2029. They have 13 picks through the next 7 years. That is insane.
Yeah, Utah's building for the future, but it's very interesting to me as to, I mean, they got some guys for Donovan Mitchell, man. They got some guys.
But I got to raise your fire again, because as soon as I told you this right before, and you were upset about some of these.
I didn't even believe you.
Talk about Agbaji. Like was Agbaji. I think Agbaji was what you were upset about.
I was. So you mentioned Agbaji briefly right before we started recording. Yes. I'm like, are you serious? Like, that can't be true.
Yes.
And it gave me instant PTSD. For all of my basketball brainiacs out there, back in I think it was 2013. I don't think it's 20. I think it was 2013. Andrew Wiggins goes number 1 overall to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then is immediately traded to Minnesota for the Kevin Love deal.
You have such beef with the Cavs now. Then
now Cleveland, my friend, has done 2 separate Jayhawks. So dirty.
I don't know if it's dirty.
No, it's dirty.
Is it?
Dirty. Yes, it is. I don't care. Like, Ochai Agbaji, I mean, the whole thing with Agbaji coming into the draft, the most recent draft, was that his floor was very high and his ceiling was low. Whether or not that turns out to be true, who knows? But to not even give him a shot? No shot.
Well, think about it in
not
terms
even give him
of Donovan Mitchell's a forward, right?
Hmm?
No, he's a guard, but still.
He's a guard.
Well, yeah, I had a moment. I had a senile moment. But like, it's all a value thing. Like, I am totally fine with it if they trust that it gives them a shot, because they've already got this roster. Cleveland was ready to compete.
But they gave up Markkanen. Like,
yeah,
that's a good starter.
They get Jared Allen back. They have Darius Garland. Like, they have a good roster.
No. I'm not saying
just busted out. Evan Mobley just destroyed the league.
Do not get me wrong. This move immediately moves the Cavaliers, I believe, into Eastern Conference Finals contenders. For sure. Not favorites, but definitely contenders.
Yeah.
Because
they were the I believe the 7th seed going in, and just had 2 very unfortunate.
They were dealing with a load of injuries, like, yes. even with that. So this Cleveland team is an up and coming team. I think I have no problem in terms of like the players on Cleveland. I just hate that the staff and the organization has 2 times done Kansas Jayhawks, because I'm a huge Jayhawk fan. They've done it 2 separate times, Parker, just not even giving them a shot to prove themselves.
I'm gonna do something really annoying.
Like,
real
come
quick.
on. And now Abaji goes to Utah, who is obviously building for the future, not for right now.
Well, maybe if he busts out the way that you think he could, what if he ends up being their new Donovan Mitchell and he ends up getting that kind of return?
I mean,
How cool would that be?
I love Agbaji, but I don't see that happening.
Oh.
I think he's a player probably.
He's a role player.
2 year. Yeah, I think he's best suited as like a number 4 or number 3 option on a team.
I will say,
which is
though,
nothing to spit at. That's you're playing the NBA as a number 3
You're
option.
still great.
It's an unbelievable player. But I get why Cleveland made the move. Don't get me wrong. Donovan Mitchell, one of the best young players in all the NBA.
Absolutely.
I was looking up just before we got on. He actually surprised me. He's actually 25 already.
Yeah.
I thought he'd be a little bit younger than that.
He's been in the league a minute. I'm going to do something annoying real quick, though, because, everyone's always like, how will this affect LeBron's legacy? I will say, because we did hear rumors a little while ago that maybe after this Lakers contract is up, LeBron might want to go back to Cleveland just to finish out his career there. There was whispering.
No.
And now I think
he got the ring.
He
got the ring. What's on LeBron's main focus right now is trying to play with both Bronny and Bryce James.
But I think Cleveland has now said that's not our goal anymore. We are going to be something without you.
And I think
which is so good for them. I'm very happy for the
organization.
organization.
Don't get me wrong. We're now looking at a starting lineup next year, Parker, of Darius Garland at the 1.
Yep.
Donovan Mitchell at the 2. Then you can either it should have been Agbaji at the 3. But it now will be they don't have Markin anymore. So obviously
might be Kevin Love.
Oh my god. Evan Mobley at the 5, and then you can fill out the 4 with you can do Mobley at the 4 and Allen at the 5. That's kind of what they did last year, I believe.
They have Isaiah Mobley, but
and then they have Isaac Okoro. He was like the number 6 or 7th overall pick a few years ago. They can put him into the 3.
ESPN hasn't even updated the roster yet. That's how fresh this is, which is
so
crazy.
Dude, this Cleveland team, that starting 5,
Scary as
that is
hell.
a legit if they don't finish top 5 in the East for the next.
Woj literally just said Cleveland is suddenly a major force in the East.
Yeah, they're a real team now. It really sucks that Agbaji's not there, but this just for me personally. But I get why they made the move. And Markkanen, he's a good player, but are you really gonna keep him not to get Donovan Mitchell? Hell no.
Yeah.
And then they were always planning on moving on from Colin Sexton anyway. So.
All right, I've got a timeline here because I was just talking about how obviously our Knicks fans friends are going to be very upset.
That's another angle, yeah.
I have 3 things. First of all, Utah acquires the 2022 pick, and they got Walker Kessler, the other 2022 first-round pick from Minnesota. So that's just something else big. The Knicks reportedly were only willing to give up 2 unprotected picks. The rest were going to have to be swaps. Anything else they wanted to give up.
So it's another example in the Knicks not feeling comfortable giving enough.
So the timeline
to get an actual star player,
so the
aka
timeline for this,
KD.
The Cleveland GM Kobe Altman, this man is getting a pay raise. He better be. Circled back to Utah on Tuesday, and they had the 2 teams reassemble a deal that they had discussed in the past. So this has been in the works for a while. And New York declined to do a trade on Monday night, which is when that door was closed, is when New York shut that door. And from there, they've just been working this out. So this has been in the works. I'm surprised this didn't leak. I'm very happy though, because this was quite a drop.
Well, yeah, and that was actually what we talked about a little bit on our last episode on Tuesday, was that unofficially the official deadline to make a trade with Utah for the Knicks was Monday night.
Was that true?
I don't know if that was ever confirmed or not.
Was that a report though? I don't remember that.
That was a report, yeah.
Okay.
By
you may have
I believe it by a Bleacher Report.
I will say I now have to walk back. I was just straight up wrong. I think I said with at least some air in my chest of I was certain that Donovan Mitchell was going to the Knicks. So
really,
I was certain of it.
I just didn't think. I mean, I know the whole narrative was that the deal was going to be a lot more difficult to make after they paid RJ Barrett.
Right.
But if you just
that's why it was up.
But if you just look at the fit as just by itself,
this is way better.
Why would you stick Donovan Mitchell
when you just paid
Jalen Brunson next to RJ Barrett
and you just paid
a 2 guard essentially?
Yeah.
Why would you pay two guards?
Made
it doesn't make
no
any
sense.
So.
But they were doing it they were wanting to do it for box office, and he wanted to go there, which he was very clear about.
Yeah.
But Spida in Cleveland, that roster is so ready for him. I cannot stress enough. I'm going to try. This is heat of the moment. This is prisoner of the moment. I'm not going to make any claims about how good Cleveland's going to be. I don't want to play Cleveland this year.
No one does.
Cleveland is maybe the most improved team in the NBA in this offseason, other than maybe
There's certainly
Timbs are up there.
I think I can see the Tim's taking a step back, if I'm honest.
Pelicans, if Zion's back, are improved just by the virtue of that. But like Cleveland
last year was like, oh, this is actually a team. Well, first of all, the Cleveland team last year shocked everyone. Like no one saw them even being even a potential playoff team.
Yeah.
And then they obviously they're always at kind of like the 4 and 5 mark in the Eastern Conference for a while, but then they
fell off.
They dealt with injuries and just a couple other things. Yeah,
and they got injuries at the top of the season and were still strong for a majority.
They
of the season.
They lost Ricky Rubio.
They're probably. I would argue that means they're well coached. I think that proves that they are well coached.
And I think that's another reason as to why I really think
you had their coaching contention for Coach of the Year.
I did. JB Bickerstaff. That was another reason why I loved Agbaji going there.
This is gonna be.
But yeah,
scary.
so now that's my point though.
Please.
Last year, Cleveland surpasses almost all people's expectations, and they finished right around like the 7th seed. They're now here, Parker. Like they are actively. I'm not going to put them on the same level as Milwaukee or a Boston just yet.
But I put them on the same level as Miami.
But they could obviously compete with them.
I put them on Miami's level.
Put Boston's starting 5 against this Cleveland starting 5. Who do you take?
I still take Boston. Like I said, I put them right in that like 4 to 5 seed range.
Hold on. Darius Garland, All-Star. Donovan Mitchell, All-Star. Evan Mobley, future All-Star. Against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown?
All-Stars. Marcus Smart.
But maybe? Robert Williams is a good player, obviously, but you know.
I would take Boston there, but you're right. It is a very good comparison.
It's very close.
That's a very healthy comparison. I'll be honest, because we don't know if this James Harden thing is going to work out. So I'd put them over the Sixers right now. It just in my gut.
I also will say this just quickly because we got to wrap up, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think Utah, honestly, I mean, Lauri Markkanen is not a world beater, and Colin Sexton I think has a pretty notable ceiling to his game, and then Agbaji's kind of the question mark there.
Right.
But I actually think this trade. I know they have no more Donovan or Gobert, but I think if I'm a Utah fan, I think I'm actually okay with this deal.
Oh, these have been great deals.
Because you knew even with Donovan on your roster, you weren't going to go anywhere in that Western Conference with just Donovan Mitchell on your roster. So now they have these picks and they have some decent talent coming in from Cleveland.
Now I gotta ask.
I could see Utah in 3 years, they're right back.
Yeah, totally possible.
Maybe obviously not like best in the Western Conference,
but
they're competitive. They're absolutely competitive. They're making moves. I actually think I think it's a fairly even deal on both sides.
And I hope for their sake that they can win outside of the regular season.
But I think this deal, just initially, I can see both sides. I can see where both sides were coming from. Obviously, we can't.
Real quick, we're not going
to give an instant draft break because I hate that.
I know.
We'll have to wait a few years.
Gut feeling right now, who won this trade?
Okay, that's fair.
Because we did this when James Harden got moved, and
I think I have to go Cleveland.
Yeah.
As annoying as that is, I think I have to go Cleveland because let's face it, Donovan Mitchell is a really, really good player.
Yeah.
I still don't think he's a tier 1 player yet, but I think he's a really, really good player. And then you stick him on a Cleveland organization. And I love that you brought up JB Bickerstaff because one of the biggest knocks on Donovan Mitchell in his early career is ever since he transitioned into the NBA, his defense has been sorely lacking in some spots. You cannot play on this Cleveland team without being a hard. It's kind of like playing for what's an NFL equivalent?
Mike Vrabel,
or even like a Dan Campbell in the Lions. Like you have to have that sort of like that grit to play in Cleveland.
He said grit.
So
grit.
I think JB Bickerstaff and the relationship that can be built with Donovan Mitchell will start to kind of bring out that dog defensive mentality that we actually saw at his college days in Louisville.
Dude, if that happens, if Donovan Mitchell takes another step with this team,
if Donovan Mitchell can improve even more, this is a Cleveland team that, like you said, nobody wants to face.
Yo, Cleveland versus LeBron in the finals after they trade for Kyrie, getting rid of.
I think the Lakers got a few more things to take care of before they can start talking about finals.
We're not
contention.
talking Lakers today though.
We ain't talking Lakers.
But yeah, no, I think I agree. But
okay.
God, what a crazy day.